Very good evening and welcome to the news at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories. Of course, a big one coming in from the Supreme Court again today, and also big developments taking place in Punjab and Haryana. More details of that in a bit, but first, the headlines. Supreme Court declares right to privacy a fundamental right. 9-judge Constitution bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kehar rules that right to privacy is protected under Article 21 of the Constitution. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepalese Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deoba hold summit-level meeting in Delhi. 8 agreements are signed between both the countries in the field of trade, security, defence and natural disasters. Over 15,000 paramilitary personnel deployed ahead of the final verdict in a sexual exploitation case against Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh case tomorrow. Internet and data services in Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh are suspended for 3 days. And northern Bihar continues to bear the brunt of flood fury. Death toll rises to 376. Nearly 2 crore people affected. Flood waters leave a trail of destruction in Muzaffarpur, Darbhanga, Samastipur and Gopalganj districts. Our top story this evening, India and Nepal relations took a new leap, with both the countries vowing to address each other's concerns. Prime Minister of Nepal, Sher Bahadur Deoba, is on a 5-day state visit to India since Wednesday to have a detailed discussion on issues challenging the two nations, especially in view of the Chinese Obor project. Deoba is accompanied by a large official delegation as well as his wife, Arzu Deoba. India accorded him high honour by ensuring his stay at Rashtrapati Bhavan. On Thursday, Nepalese Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deoba had a summit-level meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi. Both leaders had extensive talks on issues ranging from trade, security and defence, as well as natural disasters. 8 agreements were signed between the two countries in presence of both the PMs. The agreements are relating to speeding up of reconstruction efforts in Nepal and also cooperation in chartered accountants institutions and narcotics control. Special reference was also made to security and defence issues.
मुझे खुशी है कि आज जिन 8 MOUs पर हस्ताक्षर किए गए हैं, उनमें से 4 भूकंप के बाद पुनर्निर्माण कार्यों के लिए भारत की तरफ से किए गए $1 बिलियन की सहायता के वायदे और आगे बढ़ाएंगे। रक्षा क्षेत्र और सुरक्षा में सहयोग हमारी पार्टनरशिप का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण पहलू है। हमारे सुरक्षा हित भी एक दूसरे पर निर्भर हैं और एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं।
There are tremendous opportunities in Nepal-India relation, enormous potential in economic field, particularly in water resources, trade and investment. With the end of long political transition, Nepali people stand threshold of a new era of progress and prosperity. This time, this has come now. Translate aspirations and desire into reality. With a strong partnership and collaboration, we can make a difference.
Cooperation in infrastructure development was another topic of discussion between the two leaders. They dwelt upon the hurdles in speedy fulfillment of Nepal's needs, and Prime Minister Modi assured him of timely fulfillment of India-sponsored projects. Both leaders also assured that DPR on the much-awaited Pancheshwar projects would be finalized soon for hydroelectricity, which will be a win-win situation for both countries.
पहले से चल रहे हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट्स को तय समय सीमा में पूरा करने के लिए अपने प्रयास हम और बढ़ाएंगे। अब मुझे खुशी है कि जब देवबा जी ने मुझे बताया कि अरुण 3 के लिए नेपाल में भूमि का मामला सुलझा लिया गया है, मैं देवबा जी का धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उसके शिलान्यास के लिए उन्होंने मुझे नेपाल का निमंत्रण दिया है। मैं उनका आभारी हूं।
I appreciated Prime Minister Modi's neighborhood first policy and approach of the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. We are eager to see that these encouraging policy announcements are translated into concrete and development activities.
Both Prime Ministers also stressed on connectivity as a major area of cooperation. With Road Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari being present during the delegation-level meeting, decisions were taken to expedite pending road projects and decide about the new roads that can connect not only India and Nepal through the borders, but also the inner roads of Nepal. China has already established itself in Nepal with its One Belt, One Road project. While India is not in competition, it does want to ensure that Nepal does not rely only on China for similar projects.
क्षेत्रीय समृद्धि के लिए भी ये बहुत ही आवश्यक है। नेपाल के लोगों को और नेपाल की सरकार की प्राथमिकताओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए नेपाल के विकास में अपनी साझेदारी बढ़ाने के लिए भारत पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। इस उद्देश्य की प्राप्ति के लिए हम कई ऐसे इकोनॉमिक, कनेक्टिविटी और डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स पर सहमत हुए हैं जो नेपाल की नेशनल प्रायोरिटी है।
Two transmission lines from Raxaul to Parvanipur and Kotaya to Kushaha from India to Nepal, each of 132 megawatts, were also launched today. Earlier on Thursday, the Nepal Prime Minister and his wife were given a ceremonial reception at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. He met President Kovind and Vice President Nadu and paid respects to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. During the next leg of his visit, he will be travelling to Hyderabad and Gaya.
Due to open border between the two countries, India has serious security concerns and Nepal has serious need of infrastructure development. It is heartening to hear that both Prime Ministers have reassured one another in these regards. Rest will be done by people of both the countries to increase confidence between the two. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Junaid in Delhi.
All right, for more on what took place between, of course, that summit-level talk between both the PMs, we've got Akhilesh Suman joining us now live from the capital. Akhilesh, one of the issues that India was looking forward to discussing, of course, was that Madhesi issue. Was that something that both the PMs discussed?
Yeah, indeed, Tracy, Madhesi issue came as a very important issue between the two countries because this is an issue that will hamper peace and stability in both Nepal and also in India. Because the people are common, the cultures are common of the Madhesis between India and Nepal. So the resolution has to be found. And you know that a few weeks earlier, the Prime Minister of Nepal presented a bill in Parliament of Nepal to pass the amendments that could have satisfied the Madhesis. But due to minority, he was not having majority and the bill was not passed. So Prime Minister Devba assured today Prime Minister Narendra Modi that once we have the majority in the House, because you know that November, in this year November, the parliamentary election has to be done in Nepal and new Prime Minister and the new parliament will sit. So in this situation, if Nepali Congress gets a majority or his coalition gets a majority, he assured the Prime Minister and Indian leadership that once we get a majority, we will be able to push any bill that will satisfy not only Madhesi but also all other concerns of all ethnic minorities of Nepal, and it can be an inclusive society as far as political interest is concerned. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was speaking, he mentioned it as one of the first issues in his speech. And also Prime Minister Devba also made it very clear that it is a concern for us and we are trying to address this issue through a consultation not only among the political parties but also we are trying to create a situation where Madhesis should feel that yes, the government is taking care of this issue. So since former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has taken a very strong attitude that this bill has not to be passed, they have a very strong feeling that Madhesis are demanding something more than what Constitution should have provided to them. So it is a situation of log jam in Nepal politics and Nepal's parliament. But this present dispensation of Nepal is trying to resolve this issue, and this assurance has come right from the Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deora.
Absolutely. Yes. And another issue, of course, was the China issue. It is important, to note again, as it was in your story there. India is, of course, looking at how the One Road, the OBOR initiative, of course, is being taken across in Nepal. But, it is also coming at a time where the standoff between India and China is going on. And where does Nepal stand there?
Yeah, it's naturally it is very important issue for both India and Nepal, because Nepal is like a buffer state between China and India, and Nepal also feels sometimes very uncomfortable when a standoff is there between China and India, because both are two big nations of Asia, the biggest nations of Asia population wise, military wise and armament wise. So if something happens bad between India and Nepal, India and China, Nepal will be directly affected. So there is a concern in Nepal, and I think that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Deuba talked about it in length. And if you notice the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statement to media, he mentioned that security and defense is a prime concern that both Nepal and India share, and Nepal has to contribute, India has to share, and both countries, because India and Nepal has an open boundary, so it becomes more pertinent that Nepal should take care of India's concern. So this issue has been discussed, but you know that Nepal, since Nepal is a small country, it doesn't want to side any one country at this moment, because Nepal also wants to have proper diplomatic relations with China.
Absolutely.
It says
India
that China also can help us in development. So this type of argument has been
obviously, needless to say, Nepal is going to be towing that line as well of diplomacy. Thank you so much, though, Akhilesh Suman, for joining us for those details on that big story. Remember, it's a 5-day visit. There's more, of course, to go. We'll keep tracking all developments here on Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, the other big story that came in today from the national capital, the Supreme Court today declared the right to privacy a fundamental right under the Constitution. A 9-judge Constitution bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kehar ruled that the right to privacy is protected intrinsically as part of rights guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution. In a landmark judgment, a 9-judge Constitution bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kehar unanimously declared that right to privacy was a fundamental right under the Constitution. The Supreme Court ruling said that right to privacy is an intrinsic part of right to life and personal liberty under Article 21, an entire Part 3 of the Constitution. The bench was hearing a batch of petitions challenging the centre's move to make Aadhaar mandatory for availing the benefits of social welfare schemes.
All that this 9-judge bench has held is that this is a fundamental right under Article 21, and therefore any law which is made to restrict this fundamental right will have to be examined on the touchstone of Article 21, which means that the court will have to see whether that law imposes reasonable restrictions on your fundamental right to privacy or not.
While the centre had argued that right to privacy is not a fundamental right, the petitioners contended that when a citizen gives his biometrics to the government and it is used by commercial organizations, it is a breach of privacy. The Apex Court said the validity of sharing information for Aadhaar card will be decided by a 5-judge bench, which has been hearing the petition since 2015.
The government welcomes this judgment. यूपीए ने आधार लाया था बिना किसी कानून के, और पूरी चर्चा इस बात से हुई थी कि how could the government collect data or insist upon biometrics without any legislative sanction. तो यूपीए सरकार के काम करने का तरीका था. फिर हमने एक comprehensive bill लाया known as the Aadhaar Act.
The judgment also concluded that privacy includes, at its core, the preservation of personal intimacies and that sexual orientation is an essential attribute of privacy. It said that privacy and protection of sexual orientation lie at the core of the fundamental rights under Articles 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution.
The judgment delivered today is a landmark verdict and will rank among the most important judgments delivered by the Supreme Court. Privacy is at the core of personal liberty. In fact, privacy is an inalienable part of life itself. By virtue of the judgment of the Supreme Court, Article 21 has acquired a new magnificence.
The judgment is a blow to Aadhaar, as the centre now has to convince the Supreme Court that forcing citizens to give fingerprints and their iris scan does not violate privacy. With Thursday's decision, the Supreme Court has overruled its judgments of 1954 MP Sharma case and the 1961 Khadak Singh case that right to privacy is not protected under the Constitution. Ravindra Sharan's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Well, the Supreme Court on Thursday also imposed a fine of 10 lakh rupees each on 2 people for filing a petition challenging the practice of recommending to the President the name of the successor by the incumbent Chief Justice of India. A 2-judge bench comprising of Chief Justice J.S. Khehar and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said that imposition of exemplary cost was needed to send across a message to similarly placed people to deter them from filing such pleas. The petitioners, Swami Om and Mukesh Jain, had questioned the process of recommending the name of the successor by the incumbent CJI while referring to the constitutional scheme on the appointment of CJI and the Chief Justices of the High Courts. In their plea, they said that the procedure adopted by the Supreme Court was against the spirit of the Constitution. The Apex Court asked the petitioners to deposit the fine within 1 month and said it should be sent to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, adding that the matter will be revisited if they fail to deposit the fine. In other news, the Reserve Bank of India will issue the first ever 200 rupee denomination banknotes on Friday. In a press release, the central bank said that the 200 rupees denomination banknotes will be issued in the Mahatma Gandhi new series bearing the signature of Governor Urjit Patel. The new notes will have the Sachi Stupa motif on the reverse, and it will also have the color of the note, which is, of course, as you can see, bright yellow. It also has other designs and geometric patterns as well. This is, of course, to ease the burden on the 2000 rupee note that was introduced, and of course now the burden that is on 100 and 500 rupee note as well. All right, with that, a quick break here. We'll be back with the top international stories in a bit. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome. This is Amritan Shirai and you're watching Constitutionally Yours.
Any tribal land cannot be transferred to the non-tribal.
Tribals of Tripura, they are depending on the forest.
There has been a growing demand amongst the tribal community that customary law should be.
Although they have codified customary laws, except for Tripura. So what is the initiative of the legislature?
There is no codified customary law as yet.
Watch Constitutionally Yours on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. The Tamil Nadu police team reached Windflower Resort in Wildflower Resort in Puducherry on Thursday, where supporters of TTV Dinakaran are staying. The police said that the purpose of their visit was to check that law and order is maintained in the area. The AIDMK MLAs are put up at the resort since Tuesday to protest against the merger of the Panneerselvam and the Palanisamy camps.
Come to make sure that there is peace around the place. There is no untoward incident taking place. There is law and order maintained.
So
that is the purpose.
Have you received any complaint?
No, I have not received any complaint.
Meanwhile, MLAs belonging to the Deputy General Secretary TTV Dinakaran demanded that Assembly Speaker P. Dhanapal be appointed as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. The latest development comes a day after Tamil Nadu CM K. Palanisamy on Wednesday said that unity was the need of the hour.
இனிமேலும் இது போன்ற சேனலை அவர்கள் செய்வார்களானார் கட்சியையும் இந்த சின்னத்தையும் முடக்குவதற்கு காரணமாக இருந்த ஓபிஎஸ் அணி என்கின்ற சொல்லிக் கொள்கின்ற அந்த கூட்டம் இன்று கழகத்திலே இணைந்து விட்டு நாங்கள் தான் கழகம் என்று சொன்னால் கழகத்தை தொன்று தொட்டு 1972 இருந்து கட்டி காக்கின்ற நாங்கள் யார்?
And now to the north, where the flood situation remains grim in the states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adena toured the flooded areas of Faizabad and distributed relief material to the people. He also flagged relief material for flooded areas in the state. Floods have affected 24 districts of the state with 89 people dead. Over 23 lakh people have been affected by the floods.
उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार ने एसडीआरएफ के अंतर्गत हर पीड़ित परिवार के लिए पर्याप्त मात्रा में खाद्यान्न और उसके उपयोग के लिए आवश्यक वस्तुएं प्रत्येक जनपद स्तर तक पहुंचाई है और जिला प्रशासन को स्पष्ट निर्देश दिए हैं कि किसी भी पीड़ित को कहीं भी कोई समस्या न आने पाए।
The death toll, meanwhile, in Bihar has risen to 367, even as 1.58 crore people remain affected by the deluge. 19 districts of the state are submerged, with Siwan being added to the list of flooded districts. Around 7.76 lakh people have been shifted to safer areas, while some have returned to their homes in areas where the water levels are now receding. 28 NDRF teams and 7 army teams are engaged in flood relief and rehabilitation work. Meanwhile, opposition RJD, Congress and CPI-ML have protested in Bihar Assembly, accusing the state government of failing to provide proper relief to flood victims in the state. The Punjab and Haryana High Court on Thursday asked the centre to provide additional forces ahead of a judgment in a sexual exploitation case against Dera Sacha Sauda head Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh. As many as 150 companies of paramilitary forces have been deployed in both states to assist the police forces in maintaining law and order. Two major cities, Chandigarh and Panchkula, are in complete lockdown. Flag marches have been carried out by security forces in Panchkula, Sirsa, Hisar and some other places, while several hospitals have also been put on alert as a precautionary measure. Apprehending violence, mobile internet services have been suspended for the next 72 hours in Haryana, Punjab and Chandigarh. Security forces are also keeping a close watch on social media, particularly WhatsApp groups, Facebook and Twitter, and have asked people not to spread rumours. The central government has assured all possible help to the two state governments to deal with any situation.
सफिशिएंट हमने जो है यहाँ पे पुलिस फोर्सेस का और पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस का डिप्लॉयमेंट किया है। इसके अलावा हमने आर्मी को भी अलर्ट किया है। हमारे जो कोर सेंसिटिव एरियाज हैं उनको हमने पूरी तरह से सैनिटाइज कर रखा है। वहाँ पे किसी प्रकार की कोई भी अनऑथराइज जो एंट्री है वो वहाँ पे नहीं होगी।
तो लोगों से हम यही अपील करेंगे शांति बनाए रखें और उसके साथ ये मैसेज भी है शरारती तत्वों का, अगर किसी ने कोई खिलाफ जाने की कोशिश की तो उसके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
And here are more updates from across the country and nationwide. The Enforcement Directorate today conducted searches at a dozen locations in Delhi, including the premises of a former MLA in connection with a foreign exchange violation case. As per the officials, business and residential premises at locations in east of Kailash, Barakhamba Road and few in South Delhi are being searched under the provisions of FEMA. Resident doctors at the Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi proceeded on an indefinite strike, alleging that one of their colleagues was assaulted by a woman patient. An FIR has also been filed at the Safdarjung Enclave Police Station in connection with the incident. The UP government transferred additional Chief Secretary of Medical Education, Anita Bhatnagar Jain, in connection with the death of children at the state-run BRD College in Gorakhpur. As per sources, Dubey, Principal Secretary, would hold the additional charge of medical education for now. Some quick international updates in Typhoon Haito, the strongest to hit southern China in 53 years, left a trail of death and destruction in the region. Macau and Hong Kong bore the brunt of the storm that has claimed at least 16 lives and injured over 150 others. Macau remained without electricity even 24 hours after the typhoon made landfall. Macau officials said that it was the strongest storm recorded in more than 50 years and had a severe impact across the city. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, more than 120 people were injured as the financial hub was lashed with hurricane winds and heavy rains. No casualty was reported, even as floods inundated low-lying and coastal areas. In Guangdong, at least 8 people were killed and dozens injured. Power transmission facilities also suffered heavy losses, disrupting electricity supply to nearly 2 million households. More than 24 hours after the powerful typhoon, alerts for landslides, flooding and other geological disasters remain in place. Air services have been resumed partially in Hong Kong, though rail and road traffic remain affected due to massive flooding. Meanwhile, China has issued a new advisory to its citizens travelling to India, warning them of various safety risks coming amid Beijing's continuing anger towards Delhi over the 2-month-long border standoff in Doklam. China cited train accidents, natural disasters and frequent infectious disease outbreaks in the country. This is the second such advisory issued by Beijing since the standoff, and it is stronger than the July 8th warning. The advisory asks Chinese nationals to pay attention to their personal safety and avoid unnecessary travel within India. Travelers are told to carry personal identification information with them, obey religious customs and keep their family, colleagues and friends posted about their travels. India, of course, yet to respond to this second advisory. Meanwhile, quick cricket update, and Sri Lanka started with a good run rate, but regular wickets and some tight bowling slowed them down. Hardik Pandya and Yuzvendra Chahal then struck early wickets for India after Virat Kohli opted to bowl. Sri Lanka scored 236 runs for the loss of 8 wickets after 50 overs. Though Sri Lanka took off well, they lost wickets at regular intervals. Some tight bowling in the middle overs from Indian bowlers slowed them down, but Milinda Sivardhana and Chamara Kapudegera then revived the innings later on. The 91-run partnership helped the Lankans to get to a decent score from a situation where the Lankans were looking to fall easily. The men in blue are yet to bat. That's all we could pack in on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us.